Welcome, folks. I'm your host, Duke Antczak, and this is Getting on Track, week number 8 that we're doing this. And, folks, I'll tell you what, the last couple of races that we just watched at Darlington were quite entertaining at that. And I do want to jump right into it here, talking about the Lift Kits for Less 200, the truck race at Darlington. And I want to start by saying that my favorite throwback of the truck series was the O2 truck. Classic throwback. And I love what they did with the sponsor. They made it say Good Right, which is a throwback to the Good Wrench sponsor, of course. So, that's just entertaining. Totally entertaining there. What I really thought was interesting is that this race was full of cautions. You can't deny it. There were 12 different cautions. Well, it was a classic fever dream Friday night truck race. That's what it was. But in the beginning, John Hunter Nemechek looked pretty good. He jumped out front, but then almost immediately he lost the lead to Austin Hill and Ben Rhodes. He had some trouble with a lap car and then just lost it, and then the three of them battled until the competition caution. But, there was just a lot of spinning and crashing after that point. There wasn't a lot of racing going on. I do want to mention it was cool to see Greg Biffle back, just hanging around. He paced the field before the race, and then he went on to be in the booth for the rest of the race. Somebody ran a Greg Biffle throwback. I forget who it was, but I remember seeing that somebody did run a Greg Biffle throwback this year. Eric Darnell was back as well, running a throwback to himself from the last time he raced in the truck series. I think that's pretty funny. But yeah, we'll get to the crashing in a minute, folks. But Carson Hocevar and Corey Heim, both younger drivers, both had absolutely fantastic showings at Darlington, which is a really tough track. I mean, really tough track to get a hold of. But they just owned the day, really. And Carson Hocevar especially, I thought was really good, because I never really thought about Carson Hocevar and thought, yeah, that guy's going to be running up front sometime. I always just figured, he's going to be in the back. That's kind of his place. But honestly, he did fantastic. I definitely, my opinion on him has changed. Corey Heim from the ARCA series, it's his first ever truck start at Darlington. Really tough place to start your truck series career. But he did very well. Of course, he was in a good truck too, but he did very well. Timmy Hill was having a career race. He got snubbed. He got in a crash. Not his fault. And then at that point, that's when my notes devolved into it was a wreck fest. It was like I said earlier, a classic fever dream Friday night truck race. That's what it felt like. Here's some stats for you. 66 caution laps, which was 44% of the race was run under the caution flag. The average green flag run was less than 7 laps, which is ridiculous. 32 of the total 40 trucks were involved in some sort of incident. There were 12 cautions total, which seems like a low number after the numbers I just said. There were 66 caution laps, and I made sure to look this up. That means that the pace car was leading the field for 66 laps. So technically, the pace car led 66 laps. John Hunter Nemechek led 65 laps. That was the most. So the pace car led the most laps in the race Friday night. So that that's that. In the final 37 laps, there were only 2 green flag laps completed, and it took more than an hour to complete those 37 laps. The official race time was 2 hours, 34 minutes, and 41 seconds. It took 154 minutes to complete 147 laps at Darlington. That was the the longest ever truck race was only 10 minutes longer than that. It was at the Daytona Road Course, and this race is only 10 minutes shorter. So that's absolutely insane. So it was something. It was entertaining, I guess. I mean, I was entertained. You don't want to see that many trucks wreck. because a lot of people were put in a financial hole after that. But that's okay. Sheldon Creed ended up winning. But does it really matter? I don't know. Sheldon Creed won the race. He had a cool throwback. I really liked his throwback, but he had no sponsor. Again, we talked about that last week. Just that's kind of wacko that people don't have sponsors. Anyway, let's move right along here. Talking about the Steakhouse Elite 200. It's the Xfinity Series race at Darlington. This happened the day after on Saturday. In this race, Dale Earnhardt Jr. paced the field, similar to how Greg Biffle did, except Dale Jr. did it a lot better because he paced the field with his restored Dale Earnhardt Nova. It was pretty sweet. Everybody loves that car. It's absolutely beautiful. They did a fantastic job with it. He paced the field. He didn't end up in the booth, but he'll be in the booth for the second half of the season in the Cup Series. So that's a fine trade-off for me, at least. This weekend started 11 straight weeks with Xfinity Series racing on the weekend, so that's pretty cool. Next week they're going to Dover. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But there was a crash towards the beginning of this race. It was J.J. Yaley, it was Brandon Godovic, and it was Joe Graf Jr. that just kind of shoved it 3 wide and took him out. I'm kind of thinking it was Joe Graf Jr.'s fault in that crash, and I'm thinking that maybe he wants to go back in time because of that move. And that was a joke about his paint scheme because he threw back to the DeLorean. The Back to the Future DeLorean. So, anyway, more on that later. Before the competition caution, and that kind of meant that the race in the beginning had a yellow flag field because there was that crash, and then soon later was the competition caution. And what happened is there was a lot of aggressive driving from that, So yeah, Brandon Godovic crashed again after that, and that ended up being the competition caution, I believe. He had a tire problem after crashing the first time, so whatever. You can't do anything about that. The bottom lane and the top lane were both working on restarts at about 20 laps in, and that became a key factor because nobody knew exactly which lane was going to get the better start. Everybody thought the outside was going to be better because of what happened in the truck race, because the outside was far superior in the truck race. But the bottom and the top were both doing really, really good. So that was really interesting. I was thinking maybe it was heat cycles, but definitely keep it noted for the end of the race there because that became a huge factor. So Matt Mills was the one who ended the stage. He had an odd spin. He just he just spun. Like it was kind of bizarre, middle of the straightaway spin. But Austin Cindric won, and he was under pressure. Or he was under pressure from Noah Gragson. Really, really. Noah Gragson probably would have won that stage had it gone all the way, but Matt Mills spun and ended it. So Cindric got lucky and won another stage. Of course, Austin Cindric doesn't always get lucky, but that time he did. Soon later, after some strategy, Hemrick made it out front. Daniel Hemrick looked great out front. He drove away from everybody. He was having a fantastic race. And it was going to be interesting, the strategy for the end of stage 2, because there were some people that pitted and there were some people that didn't under caution. And Daniel Hemrick had to pit after everybody else had pitted, and he was going to stay out. So he had to pit. I don't know what happened to him. He had I do. It was a tire going down, and when he went down pit road, it blew. So that was a good call. I don't know how he got a tire going down there, but he did. And so it was a very dramatic couple of laps to finish the stage because A.J. Allmendinger totally wrecked Harrison Burton, or didn't wreck him, but tried to. Spun him out, and then he didn't even end up winning the stage because people with fresh tires came and did him in good. So that's that there. Stage 3 was drama-free until about 20 laps to go when Joe Graf Jr. sent Gray Galding back to the future. because and they've had their history this season. In fact, just a couple weeks ago, they fought in the garage area. Those two. So yeah, and then a little bit later, Joe Graff Jr. got sent back to the future, and his car was totally bucked up. That's about his sponsor, of course, which is bucked up. But his car was as well, and I don't know what's going on with those guys because it doesn't really get a lot of TV coverage because they're back markers and all. But that's some wackazoid stuff. But then Josh Berry was leading the race at that point. Another caution made some interesting strategy because there were people that pitted, people that stayed out. Really interesting. And then Josh Berry, I was really hoping Josh Berry could get her done, but he didn't. It was Justin Allgaier. What? I didn't mention his name. Justin Allgaier did not come up for the entire race, the entire show up to this point. Justin Allgaier wins it. Absolutely crazy. And then I wrote that Noah Gragson won the Dash for Cash again for the third time in a row, which would have been like amazing. Oh my gosh, Noah Gragson won it. Nope. He got cucumbered and actually they don't do that anymore, folks. He just straight up got his finishing position taken away. He was disqualified. They are going to appeal it. The appeal process will start tomorrow on Wednesday. But for now, AJ Allmendinger is the Dash for Cash winner, which is pretty frickin' swickin'. So after the break, we will talk about the Goodyear 400, the Cup race at Darlington. We're going to talk about some news a little bit later on in the show. Stay tuned. For now, we're going to get off track. I'm your host, Duke Antczak, and I'll see you after the break. back, folks, to Getting on Track. I'm your host, Duke Antczak, and now we're in segment two, talking about the Goodyear 400, the Cup race at Darlington, throwback weekend. This is the finale, and they go green. Eric Almirola crashes, and that's how it goes. That was an odd, crazy crash. If you were following along on my Twitter at Duke Antczak Show, I did mention that there were a couple of really not good shots because of what happened was good, but it was good, interesting to look at shots of the safer barrier flex at Darlington. When you get so loose off of that corner and then you get touched by somebody anywhere on your car will just absolutely slide down the track and smash into that inside wall. Classic Darlington crash, unfortunately. And Eric Almirola hit it so hard, his front tires were no longer on the ground. That was really surprising to see that his. I mean, you don't see that very often. The splitter was folded under and his tires weren't on the ground anymore. He was done for the day very quickly. So that that was interesting. And the talk of the weekend after this race and during this race was the 750 horsepower package. Is it better than the 550 horsepower package? I don't know. I don't care. Everybody seems to care about it. Look, folks, when you're going to Darlington, you're going to be slipping and sliding and spinning every single time, no matter how much horsepower you have. And that's how it always is every single year. So I don't know. The 750 horsepower package I enjoyed the race, so I thought it was an entertaining race. Was it because of that horsepower package? I doubt it. I don't think so. I enjoyed the race because it was entertaining. It had strategy. It had racing. There were some good groups of racing that went on. I know that a lot of people thought it wasn't great because there was some monotony going on in the middle. But I think that every single race has that amount of monotony. In fact, I think that I think about a lot going back to years ago at Michigan International Speedway. I remember those races quite well because I always went to Michigan International Speedway to watch the race, and there is always, every single time, a point in the race where there's a long green flag run, where everybody's kind of running 80%, riding around, making it to the finish. That always happens when you have these extremely long races, and I am not a proponent for shortening the races. I know that a lot of people have said more 300-mile races, 400-mile races instead of the 500, 600-mile races we get would help that. I disagree. No, I don't disagree that it would help, because it would help. It would kind of remove that. It would increase the anxiety that people have, the drivers at least, trying to get there. But what I want to say is that when you go to the track for the race weekend, you want to get your money's worth. I traveled 10 hours south from Cleveland to Talladega this year, and I felt satisfied after I left because I saw a lot of racing. When I went I think it's about 6.5 hours down to Bristol last year for the All-Star race, I left that race. I enjoyed the race a lot, and I enjoyed the festivities around it, but I left that race feeling unsatisfied that I did not see much racing at Bristol. I feel like Bristol owes me something after that. So look, it's it's a trade-off. I don't know if there's a perfect race because of the fact that everybody has such different opinions. Because a lot of people really, really care about the horsepower package and stuff. I really don't. In fact, I actually think that I prefer the 550 horsepower package at mile and a half tracks. Maybe only the mile and a half tracks, but I do prefer them at the mile and a half tracks just because I think that it makes the racing more entertaining for more parts of the race, you know. So it's all up to personal preference whether it's a good race or not, and I think that I think that people need to start realizing, instead of complaining that they didn't like the race and calling it a bad race, they should maybe reevaluate what they think a good race is and if it's actually possible. So moving along from that into what actually happened in the race, I want to say that Kevin Harvick's throwback was announced on. It might have actually been like Saturday before the race, maybe the morning of the race. It was a throwback to his first start in the Cup Series, which of course was in the white Goodwrench number 29 car. The story behind that, after Dale Earnhardt died, that was his car. They didn't want to use the 3. They didn't want to make the car black. They made it white. They gave it number 29. Kevin Harvick, first ever start in the Cup Series. Maybe the worst ever circumstances to start the race for the first time ever. But Kevin Harvick, I think that throwback was on the top 5. They kind of matched the font a little bit. The 4 looked a little bit weird because it wasn't 2 numbers, but it is what it is. Kyle Busch was leading the race. He led in total in his career. He led 17,999 laps in his whole career, and he spun out and did not lead the 18,000th lap at Darlington, which is really, that just makes me laugh. Sorry, Kyle Busch. That's funny. So I'm sure that he'll get it. I tweeted, I said it would be funny if he never got that lap. But honestly, it wouldn't be that funny for Kyle Busch, but it would be funny for me at least. It would just be ironic, I guess. Not laugh out loud funny, ironic funny. Either way, after that, Truex dominated. He just drove away from everybody. I thought Hamlin was good on the long run, but it turns out Hamlin wasn't super good. Brad Keselowski started on the pole. He got the pole via virtue of the math. The qualifying matrix of mathematical equations that give the starting order, and he dropped back like a rock. I mean, he never gained any more positions after losing him. That was really unfortunate. But towards the end of stage 1, Bubba Wallace gave Truex absolute hell trying to stay in the lead lap, and he ended up not staying on the lead lap, and he also didn't get the wave around, which was really unfortunate. And then he never got the wave around. He stayed back there for the rest of the race because of some circumstances that were surrounding if he should get it or not via the caution. Either way, stage 2 had some more slides into the inside wall, brought out a couple yellows, good safer barrier flex shots again with those, but just also not good that people hit that wall, but good to see that the safer barrier is working its stuff. Truex continued to dominate after that. Denny Hamlin stayed out like a doofus on the track, and that didn't work at all. Martin Truex Jr., he was 15 seconds ahead of everybody at the end of stage 2. They went to commercial break before everybody was able to finish the stage. That's how far ahead he was from everybody. The battle for third was raging after that with about 5 cars under the blanket. That was crazy at the end of the stage there with a bunch of people. We almost won Clint's money. We almost did. If Kyle Larson had been able to get ahead of William Byron at the end of the stage, we would have won Clint's money. But alas, we did not win Clint's money this time. And man, if we had, I think that people won $2,500 this week. So that was pretty cool. Boy, it could have been us. Either way, it didn't happen. So Eric Jones won the throwback paint scheme fan vote in the 43. I get it. I get why. I don't think that it was my favorite. I think my favorite was the 00. Psh, Quinn Houff. What do you know? I think that his was my favorite. And then 30 laps to go in this race is when it got really good. And this is the kind of race I like. When you've got somebody who is faster and they're in second place and they are driving down the leader who has dominated this whole race up to this point. Kyle Larson is driving him down. This is 2018 Chicagoland all the way, right? Kyle Larson, he's coming. Here he comes. He overworked his tires going through lap traffic. 25 to go though, because it only took him 5 laps to get there. 25 to go. He was still close. He stayed close. He stayed close. He stayed close. Used up his stuff. never made it. Truex won the race. He had a stupid throwback. Sorry, Martin Truex. He had a stupid throwback. It was a throwback to himself with the matte black, Furniture Row car, and they just didn't really do it very well. Wrong colors, wrong styling on the colors. That was dumb. There were only 9 people on the lead lap by the end of the race. So I don't know, and then you go back to thinking about, well, was this race better or worse with the 750 horsepower package? Personally, I prefer an entertaining race to a race where I see the drivers are struggling, especially at Darlington, because of the fact that Darlington is a tough track to drive every single time, no matter how much horsepower you have. I don't get it. I don't know why people think that race was better despite being boring. I don't understand that. Somebody explain it to me, please, because I don't really get it. The driver talent thing, sports are about entertainment. They are not about seeing who is the best anymore. And I don't think that they ever were. Anyway, one final note on the Goodyear 400. It was the most watched weekend sporting event on broadcast or cable. It was the most watched Cup race on FS1 since 2017. The viewership peaked at 3,760,000 people. It was the most watched race, or it was the most watched telecast of any kind on cable this weekend. Congratulations, NASCAR. You're back on top. We are going to break right now. After this, we're going to talk about some news. The next-gen car has been revealed. Things to look forward to with that. We're going to talk a little bit about the Kentucky Derby. That's on the track, right? We're getting on track. So thanks a lot. I'll see you after the break. Welcome back, folks, to Getting on Track. Right now, we're about to talk about the NASCAR next gen car, but first, I want to start with a little bit of other smaller news. And of course, you might be thinking, Psh, what the heck? The next gen car was announced before Darlington. It was, but we were talking about throwbacks last week, so we couldn't talk about next gen. So we'll talk about next gen this time after we talk about North Wilkesboro Speedway, folks. And I know everybody's probably thinking, "Oh, I don't want to talk about North Wilkesboro. It's really scary." But look, they've got a Save the Speedway project going on. It's gaining a lot of momentum, and I think that in the coming maybe 10 years, we could see NASCAR back at North Wilkesboro Speedway for real, in real life, not iRacing, real life racing. And Wilkes County is all in. This is kind of the news that has brought this back up, is that in Wilkes County, they have been putting up signs and billboards that say, we want the track to come back. We want the business to come back. We want NASCAR back in Wilkes County at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Marcus Lemonis has said that he will donate, I think it was 1 million, or maybe there was a 5 somewhere in there, but I think I'm going to say it's $1 million. Should have done my research on it. $1 million. He is going to give $1 million to helping the effort, and he would build a camping world on track property, a small startup camping world there. So that's pretty cool. Marcus Smith seems to want to do it. He's the owner. And who knows? It's an interesting thing. And I thought that it was a good idea because we got the Bristol Dirt Race. That was incredibly successful. But I don't think that that's sustainable. So I thought it was a good idea. Hey, everybody wants North Wilkesboro back. Everybody likes the dirt race. Let's turn North Wilkesboro into the dirt race, right? I thought that was a good idea. It would save on. They wouldn't have to get a safer barrier. They wouldn't have to repave. But I asked, and the response that I got was dirt isn't cheaper, because there's equipment and ongoing costs associated with the repave, or not associated with a repave, that would be associated with dirt. It's cheaper and faster to repave and a renovation and keep a renovation on schedule than it would be to make a conversion, and that means a faster return of income. So that's totally valid. I think that it's good that they have thought that far ahead, and they've kind of ruled out dirt. Unfortunate for me, I think that a dirt race at North Wilkesboro would be pretty cool, but alas, it probably won't happen. But it'd be cool to see NASCAR go back to North Wilkesboro anyway. And here we're getting on track. We don't only talk about NASCAR. We talk about NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula E, and now the Kentucky Derby, because there was some drama this week with the Kentucky Derby, despite the Kentucky Derby being in the past. It already happened. But Medina Spirit, the winning horse, failed post-race inspection. It's not actually called post-race inspection in horse racing, but I think it's funny because they call it that in NASCAR. But they failed because of it was a drug test that was failed. There was too much betamethasone, and Bob Baffert was like, hell no, there wasn't. So every person in the entire world, including me, did their own investigation, and Bob Baffert found out that there was an ointment called Automax. I think that's how you pronounce it. That ointment was recommended by the veterinarian of Medina Spirit and was used on Medina Spirit's hind end to treat dermatitis. And that ointment contains betamethasone, and that's why it was there on Medina Spirit. No other reason. No, there couldn't have possibly been cheating. There's no way they were cheating. It must have been the ointment. So, you know what? I'm kind of joking about it right now, but it seems like a legitimate reason. There's ointment on the hind end. Whatever. That's so we'll see. That could be big because the last time somebody or a horse was stripped of its Kentucky Derby win was in 1968. Um, because of a drug test failure. So we'll see. They're doing a spit test. So I guess if the spit test doesn't back up the results of the drug test, then chances are Medina Spirit will keep the win. And theoretically, if it was just the ointment, then the spit test should work out, unless Medina Spirit was licking the ointment. But I don't know if that's even possible. It's a horse. Either way, let's move on to NASCAR. Let's stop talking about the hind end ointment. We'll move on to the NASCAR next gen car. This is the next generation of stock car racing, and it has been revealed in its glorious manufacturer specific form. And here's what we have to look forward to. I'm just going to list it all off here. Symmetrical body. The first time in a very long time that we've had a symmetrical body. That means less side force on the right side for the drivers, and it makes the cars more difficult to drive. The car is 2 inches higher off of the ground, which is a lot in comparison to right now. The cars are about, like, if you really pinch your fingers close together but don't really touch them, that's about how high they are off the ground at the moment. So 2 more inches, that's quite a bit of airflow underneath the car. The chassis was redesigned with safety in mind, of course, like everything. So it's all built to absorb hits and impacts, and that's just adding on to the safety cushion that we had before, which was already pretty good, I'd say. So they mentioned that there will be in-car cameras in every single car, which is awesome. I mean, it's totally cool because now we're never going to miss a crash. There's a lot of times when it happened with Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney recently last year at Pocono, one of the 2 races that they did at Pocono last year. Ryan Blaney apparently just totally took out Kyle Busch, and nobody saw it. The only camera that saw it was like a behind the scenes trying to film for radioactive camera, and they grabbed the footage. Like somebody had to upload the footage. So anyway, in-car cameras for every single car. Oh boy, that's exciting. So there's that to look forward to. Now, the cars will have a 5-speed sequential shifter, which is different than the 4-speed H-pattern shifter that they have right now. The lights in the room just went off. Amazing. This is a throwback to the first ever episode. I got Troy coming in to fix it up. Actually, this aesthetic is kind of nice, folks. It's kind of nice. There it is. Hey, Troy, thanks a lot for that. So anyway, here, let me see if I can refocus this camera. So, look, 5-speed sequential shifter, that's going to maybe introduce shifting at Martinsville, is what they're saying, is that they might shift at Martinsville. That's crazy, right? Shifting at Martinsville, that's going to change the game for sure. Shifting at Pocono, I'd think. Maybe shifting at Indy. I don't know if the gear ratios are there for that, but it's a fascinating thing to think about, a 5-speed sequential shifter, and that's going to help road courses too. The tires are wider, the brakes are bigger. Road courses got a crazy upgrade with this car, which is good because there's 7 on the schedule now. So, look, road courses, we're going to be looking forward to them every year from here on out for a long, long time. That's how I feel. It went from a 15-inch to an 18-inch wheel. So similar to the average pizza sizes during quarantine, the wheel diameter has increased. And now the new wheel is going to be made, instead of steel, it'll be made out of forged aluminum, which always makes me laugh to see forged aluminum, because I'm always imagining those slow motion blacksmithing videos you see with all the sparks and stuff, and I'm imagining like somebody just hammering on making these wheels for NASCAR. I'm sure that's not how it's done, but forged aluminum really makes me giggle. Each wheel will have a single center locking lug. No longer are the days of the 5 lug nuts. You won't have to hit all 5 anymore. You just got to get that one on. So no more loose wheels. I think that's a good thing. A lot of people are mad about this because they like to find the most petty thing about the new stuff that NASCAR is doing to be mad about. Like maybe moving the numbers back. Everybody's like, "Oh, I'm really mad about that." Who freaking cares, dude? Single center locking lug, that's better. That's good. We're normal motorsport now. Everybody else has that, so let's do it. Hood louvers are going to be the new thing. Hood louvers, basically, it makes for better airflow. And it's interesting. There's a lower roof line. They're going to need backup cameras in the cars. That's going to be kind of interesting. Not so that when they back up, but just so they can see behind them. There's a larger fuel cell, so everybody is going to have to throw away their notebooks because there's more fuel in the cars. The Ford is using the Shelby GT500 body style, which I think is really cool. Bring it back. Not bring it back. Because I don't think they ever did that before, but bring it in. GT500, why not? It's NASCAR, baby. Let's do it. So, yeah, you know what? I'm really excited for these cars, especially because of the fact that they will have composite bodies. And this is another point of contention. Everybody's like, no, we don't want composite bodies, but I want the composite bodies because I watch the NASCAR Xfinity Series drivers beat and bang on each other, hit the wall, keep going. I want that in the Cup Series. I don't care how stupid the composite bodies seem on paper or whatever from the fan standpoint. I don't care, because if my driver can hit the wall pretty hard and make it out okay, that's good for me. So I am most excited for the composite bodies. Sorry, steel bodies. Goodbye. I won't miss you. The tires won't miss you. So anyway, that's that. We've got one more segment left in today's show, folks. We're going to be previewing Dover and Indianapolis Road Course in the Xfinity Series. So make sure you stick around for that. It's coming up soon. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about with it because it's going to be entertaining. Dover, Indy Road Course, and the month of May has started for IndyCar. So after this, we'll be right back, and I'll see you on the other side after we get off track for a little bit of a break. Welcome back, folks, to Getting on Track. It's the final segment, and you guys know that the final segment is when we preview next week's racing. So we'll start off right now by talking about next Saturday at 1:30 p.m. on FS1. It's the Dryden 200, the Xfinity Series race at Dover. I'm thinking that this race has a good shot of being won by Justin Allgaier because he's got old Mo on his side right now, old momentum on his side. And if anyone owns Dover in the Xfinity Series, it is Justin Allgaier. In the last 10 races, he has 2 wins, 9 top 5s, 13 top 10s, 353 laps led. He is my pick to win the race because I think that it just makes sense. He won Darlington after not really being a factor for the whole race, and I'll tell you what, those wins are the ones that you celebrate the most. Those wins are the ones you remember, and I think that he's going to remember that while he's racing at Dover, leading the race and absolutely kicking everybody's butt, Martin Truex Jr. style. So, but don't count out Brett Moffitt because that is the little team that could. He's running for points now in the Xfinity Series, so he can wheel that thing, and he's going to be a factor, I believe, an underdog pick for sure, but I think that Brett Moffitt is going to be a factor. Colleague Racing is on a roll. We love talking about Colleague Racing here in Northeast Ohio. They're on a roll. They need to be solid to keep those points positions. All 3 of their guys are in the top 6 of points, I believe, right now. In fact, I can check it, but they're doing really, really good. They're having a great season. Justin Haley is up there right with everybody because I clicked the schedule. Oh my gosh, it happened again. Guys, NASCAR.com, fix the website. What the heck? Here, let's see. This is, okay. Jeb Burton, AJ Allmendinger is in 4th, Jeb Burton is in 5th, and Justin Haley is in 6th. They're minus 67, 91, and 94. AJ and Jeb have a win. Justin Haley does not, and he is right with him. So Justin Haley, in my eyes at least, is the most consistent driver at Colleague Racing right now. Maybe not the best, but the most consistent because he's right up there with his 2 teammates that have a win. They're locked in. They're good to go. Justin Haley, get yourself a win this weekend at Dover because you need it. He's got 2 top 10s in 4 starts and a top 5. So, he could be a contender. He doesn't have a ton of experience, but he could be a contender. And speaking of experience, I think that somebody who has a lot of experience that you'll want to watch is Justin Allgaier's teammate, Michael Annett. I think he's an underdog because he is in good equipment, as we know, Junior Motorsports. He has as much experience as Justin Allgaier. He's had good runs before. I really think that he's somebody you're going to want to watch. Michael Annett in the 1 car. Keep an eye on him because it might be a good thing this weekend for him. You're going to want to watch Austin Cindric, of course, in this race as well. He's always a factor. And I want to mention about Austin Cindric. I think it's really cool that they're putting him in the Cup Series for a couple of races. That's neat. It's a neat thing that used to happen commonly, I think, but it didn't really happen a lot as often anymore. It is now, though. He's driving the 33 in the Cup Series. It's pretty cool. They did it with Chase Elliott too. They were like, you're ready to go to the Cup Series, buddy, so let's put you in a couple of races. He didn't do great. Austin Cindric is doing fine, as expected for somebody just learning the ropes in the Cup Series. Then, of course, yet another week in a row that we have here with IndyCar overlapping with the Xfinity Series. I'll probably watch, you know what, I'm going to be busy anyway, so, I'm going to watch both of these 2 races on DVR. I would suggest to you watch the Xfinity Series, then record the IndyCar race. Watch the IndyCar race after. But the IndyCar race, if you do want to watch it live, it starts Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Big NBC. It's a big-time race. It's the month of May for IndyCar. This is the beginning of the greatest month in racing because it all it all ends with the Indianapolis 500, which is the greatest day of motorsports. You know, like everything is the greatest spectacle in racing, the greatest day in motorsports, the greatest month in racing. You know, I mean, it's all there. Everything is the greatest thing that's ever happened every single year, and this is the beginning. The IndyCar Grand Prix of Indianapolis, the GMR Grand Prix of Indy, and you know, Scott Dixon always a factor in these races. Joseph Newgarden, he might be a factor. Simon Pagenaud, he swept it before, so he could do it. I've got it right here. Will Power is good. He's gotten 4 wins in this race in the past. Um, Simon Pagenaud, of course, is really good. Um, you know, it's interesting. Let's see. Let's sort this by top fives. Who has the most top fives? Simon Pagenaud. Who has the most top tens? Graham Rahal, and he has been having a fantastic season this year. So Graham Rahal, watch out for him. And also somebody who's been really good in this race in the past is Sebastian Bourdais. And Sebastian Bourdais has been having a good season, so watch out for those two. But you know, it might just be the common factors here. Also, watch out for Pato O'Ward. He is always a factor this season, at least he has been. Watch out for Colton Herta. He is a factor as well. The month of May will begin with a bang for sure because I love the racing of this track. It's such a beautiful course the Indy Road course is. So it's going to be exciting, going to be entertaining. Keep an eye out on that. Then the Dryden 400, the Cup Series at Dover, all by itself on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time on FS1. And I do want to mention, if anybody out there is listening right now who's going to the race at Dover and you aren't vaccinated, you can get your vaccine at the track. There's going to be a pop-up tent at the track giving one and done Johnson & Johnson vaccines, so you can snatch that thing 1-1 right before the race. You get there, 1-1 vaccine right in the arm, watch the race, go home, and have a good old time. So, look, you should just do it. If you're there, do it. If you haven't gotten it, do it. It's going to take you 5 minutes most. I did it. I know. So that's what you're looking at right there. Really interesting. I think that's super cool that they're doing that pop-up vaccines at the race. Look, Truex is going to be dangerous. Larson's going to be dangerous. Chase Elliott might be dangerous. I don't know if this is the track for Denny Hamlin, but I want to say that he's dangerous for a couple other reasons. So, look, Martin Truex Jr., he's got momentum on his side. He is having a fantastic season right now, the best of anybody, according to statistics. And he is going to be one of those drivers that you need to watch out for. Kyle Larson is having a fantastic season. After the race at Darlington, despite losing, he said that he thinks that his team is one of the top 3 teams in the Cup Series right now. And I'd say it's top 2. He's probably second to only Martin Truex Jr. right now. I don't know who the third team he's talking about is. Maybe Denny Hamlin, even though Denny doesn't have a win. Either way, I think that those two drivers are really dangerous. They both got it done before. Kyle Larson is really good at Dover. We know that. That's one of his favorite tracks, at least statistically. Chase Elliott has won at Dover before as well, and he could be dangerous. He still needs that win. He still needs his first win. So, I don't know. Denny Hamlin, I always mention him saying, maybe this is the week. Maybe this is the week. So far, it hasn't been. And this week, I'm going to say, then I don't think this is the week for Denny Hamlin. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't think that Dover is the track for Denny to get that W, but it could be, I guess. I don't know. We'll have to see. Let's check it out. Dover International Speedway, live on the fly. Live on the fly. This is actually no. This is the Cup Series. Except I see. I was confused. I consider AJ Allmendinger an Xfinity Series driver, but he drove in the Cup Series quite a bit. So let's look at who has the most wins in the last 10 races at Dover. It's Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, and Kyle Busch, and Ryan Newman all tied with 3 wins in the last 10 races. That's interesting. Dover only has 1 date this year, so this is going to be a standalone race for Dover. The second date went to Nashville Super Speedway because it's owned by Dover, so they split it up a little bit just to get Nashville on the schedule. in preparation for the Fairgrounds Speedway to maybe come into NASCAR in the near future, which is pretty cool. Or coming back into NASCAR at least. So, you know what? Kevin Harvick is an interesting thing that this has brought up for me because I think that Kevin Harvick might have a shot at this thing. And look, he had a good run at Darlington going. He's been having good runs. I think that his average finish this season is 9.3, and you know he's just having himself a season. Uh, uh, it's something. It's something. He has no wins, just like Denny Hamlin. So either way, Kevin Harvick, he might be a factor. Ryan Newman, I don't know if he's going to be a factor or not. But, you know, it's interesting. Let's go with top fives. Who has the most top fives in the last 10 races? Kyle Busch. Of course he does. He's Kyle Busch. He's got some momentum. He doesn't have to worry anymore. He got his win. Kyle Busch might be a factor. Who has the most top tens? Kevin Harvick. 21 top tens, just one more than Kyle Busch. So yeah, here's the drivers to watch out for this weekend at Dover. Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Larson, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, maybe Chase Elliott. I don't know. So that's that for this weekend. Make sure you watch the Xfinity Series at Dover, the GMR Grand Prix of IndyCar at the Indy Road Course, and of course the Dryden 400, the Cup Series at Dover. Make sure you watch those races because we're going to be talking about them next week on Getting on Track, 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday after the races. We'll be talking about them here. We'll be talking about the news and all this other exciting stuff. So make sure you tune in. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and on Twitch. Make sure you follow. Turn on notifications if you don't want to remember all the times when I stream. And as always, folks, I'm your host, Duke Antczak. This has been Getting on Track, and until next time, truck yeah.